Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another live broadcast of the Kev Baker Show, right here on Truth Frequency Radio, www.tfrlive.com. And thankfully, fingers crossed, I think I have got my audio glitches out of the way. But you know what it's like, you tempt fate and sure enough something will probably go wrong. But let's hope not, folks, let's hope not. And it's not just me here tonight either, because I have got Scotty Lopez here with me. How you doing, Scott?
I am doing fantastic, and it's great to be back on KBS. You know, we do Freaky Friday, we do the weekend live streams, but it's been a while since I've been on the flagship show. So, yeah, good to be back, man.
You've been sorely missed, my friend, sorely missed. But wow, what a week it's been so far, Scott. I had Brendan Drackler on at the start of the week, and we always like to have a laugh and a joke about the fact that comments sometimes say that we're shilling for NASA. And of course, Brendan, he works on the kind of programs that NASA probably would be interested in. And then last night, I had a bona fide NASA dude on the show, Dr. David Warmflash, and he was talking about the moon landings. And you know how we always get into the Van Allen radiation belt, Scott? We always bring that up when we're discussing some of the anomalous stuff up there. Well, what a brilliant explanation he gave for how it is we're able to traverse that with not too much side effects. So anyone out there, I urge you to listen to that. And I get it, folks. I get it. People will say, well, Kev, you can't just take his word for it. All I'm saying is the way he explained it makes a lot more sense. So yeah, that was really good stuff, Scotty. So shilling for NASA. Hopefully not too much shilling for NASA tonight. Hopefully. I'm sure I'll find another company to shill for. I'm sure of it.
You've become quite the NASA shill lately, Kev. But no, it's good, man. It's good. It's cool to get the perspective from all sides, you know, and I think that's what's kind of missing is, you know, everyone kind of pushes a narrative from one side, from one angle, and they don't look at things from all different angles. And, you know, how are you supposed to understand everything if you don't take a look at something from all different angles, all different points of view? You know, and I think that's kind of why I think me and you and Joe, you know, we've kind of went in this direction to where, you know, we could have just kind of sat there and pushed one angle and pushed one kind of, how do you say, be on one kind of side of the fence and just go at everything from that point of view. But that doesn't really, I don't think it's that constructive. You know what I mean? You end up talking to an echo chamber, you know, preaching to the choir. And I think it's just good to take in data from all different angles and all different points of view, and it gives you a better understanding actually of what's going on, because then it's up to you to kind of decide, okay, well, what makes sense? Does this make sense? Yeah, it sounds like it makes sense. You know, I think just the more information you're able to disseminate, the better.
What makes sense in a crazy upside down world, Scott? Who honestly knows?
Exactly.
I think we're having major problems with the internet today. Now, me personally, I never experienced anything of the Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp crash that almost brought down Twitter. Because when any of these kind of social media sites have problems, Scott, I find it quite ironic that the one that doesn't seem to suffer from these hiccups, everyone rushes there. And the minute you hear about social media going down, you go to Twitter, right? And of course, Facebook went down today with all this going on. And I'm looking at the chat room, dude, and it's like it's really sparse in there. I'm wondering what's going on with the internet now.
I don't know. You know, what's very interesting is, you know, ever since that drone got shot down by Iran, It's been confirmed since then that we launched a cyber attack against Iran. That was our response. Remember, Trump decided he wasn't going to do any sort of military strike because he said he they told him that there was going to be at least 150 people killed, and he said that wasn't worth it. That was a disproportionate response to an unmanned drone being shot down. And hey, cool, whatever. I agree with that. But he said that there was going to be a response of some kind, and it was confirmed that there was a massive. We've conducted a massive cyber attack against Iran, and I just wonder if maybe there's a little retaliation going on.
Certainly could be. And yesterday, when we had Joe on the show, in fact, was it yesterday? I was on Joe's show, that's what it was. And he was talking about the Russian submarine. The 14 sailors had lost their life, Scott. And both the Russian government and the American government started to have emergency meetings. Now, of course, it's pure speculation on my part, but whether that was something to do with some cyber attack, maybe Trump was worried somebody in that old deep state he keeps on talking about had done this without his permission. Maybe he was trying to get to the bottom of it because he knew that Putin would certainly be looking into that angle. So, yeah, these cyber wars and things, I mean, there's definitely that going on. And do you think that's got the possibility then one day of us just coming to the computer and trying to get onto your website and you get the spinning wheel of death? You just can't load it. You get some crazy error code coming up.
Yeah, I think if something crazy goes down, you're just gonna get onto your computer, and I don't even think it'll be that. I think it'll just be when you don't even have an Ethernet connection, or if your modem's not even connected to your ISP, and you just get the little the little exclamation point symbol down by your Ethernet connection on the bottom of your Windows screen, showing that you don't have a connection. I think that's what it'll be like. The internet will be down, and that'll be very interesting. And you see how people are already reacting. I'm experiencing the Facebook bug really bad. Here where I'm located. So maybe it's a regional thing or something. Very interesting. Yeah, you haven't experienced it.
When I was in Twitter, Scott, there was also a Daily Mail article as well. I'll pull that up here just now. It was saying, from what I could garnish, and I didn't read the whole way down the thing, but it was saying social media users meltdown as Facebook blames an issue triggered during routine maintenance for outage that crashed the site worldwide, along with Instagram, WhatsApp, for over 6 hours. UK, US, and Europe are the hardest hit. So this happened in the days before that event over in New Zealand occurred. Remember the event that was live streamed a couple of days later? I mean, I personally don't think the two were connected. However, I know that there was talk out there putting two and two together. So, I mean, this isn't the first time they've said routine maintenance. And of course, Scott, I mean, let's be logical. It could be some routine maintenance. Look at what happened when I was up.
Good.
When I updated my Windows yesterday, I mean, look what happened. It absolutely put everything up in the air. It reset settings that were all ready for coming on the show. So actual patches, software patches and updates to the codes and the constant updating of the algorithms as well, this increases the chance of it being exactly what it says it is, routine maintenance.
And how many millions or even billions of lines of code do you think are, composed of Facebook? The entire Facebook code base. I'm sure it's something completely insane, the amount of code that is being used to run Facebook. So, it could be something. It really could be a glitch.
And Scott, I've sent you a link there, and it's one of these websites that shows you all of the kind of alleged, I say alleged because I've got no way of knowing if this is real or not, but the cyber attacks that are going on.
Yeah, I was just about to check the Norse
yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. If you can give me a link to that would be absolutely epic, dude, because that's the best one to look at. And the reason I was going to look at that and bring it up for listeners out there is because these things are absolutely always going on, Scott, aren't they? These cyber attacks. And whether it's state sponsored, whether it's just hackers, whether it's people spoofing IPs for another country, who knows? But it seems to be that it's going on 24/7, right?
Yeah, I mean it's constant, uh, and it's everything from just botnets set up by hackers to state-sponsored cyber attacks. To I mean, it's nonstop. The amount of bandwidth being used across the global internet infrastructure just for cyber attacks is actually insane. It's actually really really crazy. How much of the internet is actually being utilized to attack other areas. But it's interesting. I can't find the Norse attack.
Well,
It's Nord.
I tried to get into one there, northcop.com.map, and it says here error 404. And I wonder if they've been taken down as well. Yeah.
Interesting. I right now I tend to think there's a little more to this Facebook outage, social media outage, than just a glitch. Just because of the fact that we engaged in a really massive cyber attack against Iran, and I think this is the first time that we've really admitted or that we've engaged that we've admitted that we've engaged in a cyber attack like that. And so I just wonder if maybe this is some kind of retaliation from Iran, or maybe retaliation from China, or one of their allies that maybe have more capability in that cyber attack realm. But I do know for a fact that Iran, before we even admitted that we were hitting Iran with the cyber attack, I knew that they were getting attacked because.
Oh, Scott, have you got some kind of insider in intelligence? Have you got peeing on?
Peeing on. No, but see, look, I run Windows and Linux. I dual boot. I can choose to boot into either one if I want to. And
You're
time,
in the Matrix, dude.
I am in the Matrix. So I only use Windows whenever I'm doing radio stuff, pretty much. Like right now I'm on my Windows. I'm booted into my Windows partition, but generally I'm operating on my Linux stuff. And Linux, when it updates, you can choose it goes through a list of servers all around the world that it can update from, depending on your distribution of Linux or whatever. And I noticed that when I was updating my Linux, there's a couple of servers in Iran that it can connect to update Linux.
Oh.
And once it hit those servers, like when it was kind of updating my what they call it, a mirror list. So basically it's the list of servers that it can potentially tap into, if one don't work.
Scott, did you say mirror list? Because if you did, that's going to become really, really apt for what we're going to be talking about later in the show. But sorry, sir, sorry. It's just when you said mirror there, and people, trust me, there's a pattern has been forming in the mind of Kev Baker today, and it involves mirrors, and we're going to get there later on. But Scott, Iran, nice. And they call me Kremlin Kev. Are you like Mullah Scott?
Well, I was watching the terminal because that's what geeks like me do when it was updating the mirror list, and I was noticing it going through the different servers from the different countries, and making sure it was connecting to everything. And so once it got to Iran, I noticed it froze up, and the servers in Iran were not responding. And I was like,
never a good sign, dude. Never.
I was
a good sign.
Interesting. I was like, all these other servers from around the globe, even the ones like in Indonesia and like weird kind of, weird places where you wouldn't even expect a Linux update server to be located. But, when it got to the Iranian ones, they were like extremely like barely functioning. Like the response time was just at a snail's pace, and it basically almost froze up my update thing going on there. And so first thing that popped in my head is I was like, wow, they must be under a huge cyber attack. You know, those servers must be getting, DOS, DDoSed extremely hard if they can't even respond to even just updating the mirror list.
And
And
that's
so
that's like the new modern warfare. And I'm not talking about the Call of Duty game. This is literally what modern warfare looks like. Back in the day before all of this technology, Scott, you could equate this kind of to the cutting off of communications, or even the spreading of propaganda from leaflets above. And I'm not saying that we're definitely going to be on the stages towards war here, but this is what new warfare will look like. And the battlefield is increasingly digital. Because I was in the army, I still take a keen interest in future weapons and the way things are going, Scott. And you too, you'll have seen it yourself. The digitization and the whole kind of cybernetic elements to war fighting now. I mean, even I think it's the F-35. It was explaining, the guys that built that were saying all along the outside of this stealth bomber, you've got sensors everywhere. And those sensors are picking up information from the ground. They're sending them back via satellites to headquarters. They're also sending it to the other F-35s in the formation. And everything digitized, and more the AI coming into it.
yeah, exactly. And you're right that this is the 21st century. um I mean, look, think about what does the military always do to begin with whenever we kick off some kind of a campaign, right? Like in the past, like let's take the first Gulf War as an example. What are the first things that get hit? It's usually communications, right? Any sort of military communications, television communications. You cut off any kind of information stream in any way for generals and commanders and people in the upper echelon to communicate back and forth with each other. And you know that was the old way of doing it. That was they used radio and television and stuff like that. Well, now, in this day and age, it's the internet, and you don't have to bomb a you don't have to bomb a tower or something to take the internet down. You just have to launch a cyber attack. It's all done via the internet. So, this is just the 21st century iteration of that, of doing that. We're essentially cutting off communications just without launching cruise missiles.